right, sorry about that. Hopefully this is the final test. So we're going to keep on going. Can you in and out? Okay. So good for now. Yes, Edward. I can see your comments. So let's hope that this is the last time I have to restart my. Let's try to continue. Okay, and the last thing that I'm going to show you is how to use OptionStation search. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'm going to switch over here to my Tradestation, and let me just start my presentation. Give me just a moment. I'm going to protect my screen so you can see my platform. Okay, you guys can see my screen. All right, so hopefully it will stay like that. Okay, so this is Tradestation 10. You know, OptionStation Pro has been fully integrated into Tradestation. So in order for you to access OptionStation Pro, you do have to pull up Tradestation. So I'm going to come over here to the apps. That's where all the applications in Tradestation are. And I'm going to pull up OptionStation Pro. Let's go ahead and do that. It's right here. You can see that there's a button for it. Actually, you don't see it, right? Let me disable one of the options here so that we can get this started again. Okay. All right. There we go. Everybody sees that. All right. So I was saying that OptionStation Pro is integrated into Tradestation. So I click on Apps right here on the top left, and I see an OptionStation Pro button here. So I'm going to click on it and open up OptionStation Pro. Okay. So that's going to load up. Now let me just put it right here on top of my Tradestation, because even though it's integrated into Tradestation, it launches as a separate application. And the reason why we designed OptionStation Pro that way is so that we could use, you know, the real estate in your monitor and try to maximize that space. When you first open up OptionStation Pro, it's going to be loaded on a default symbol. So if it's the first time that you open it, it's probably going to show up Cisco. But if you look over here on the top left corner of my OptionStation Pro, I have Bank of America Corporation loaded because that was the last symbol that I was looking at. So any symbol that you look at in Tradestation or in OptionStation Pro should remember that symbol and load it up the next time you access the application. If you look at the top of OptionStation Pro, you're going to find information about the underlying asset. I can see that Bank of America is trading at $28. I see some useful information like volume and historical volatility. And I also see if I have a position in Microsoft. In this particular account, I have 1,000 shares of Bank of America, and they show up here as a plus 1,000. So whenever you have a position, open position in any underlying asset, is going to be right there at the top of your OptionStation Pro, which I think is convenient if you're gonna want to cover your position or put in another option spread on that particular symbol. If you want to change the symbol, I just want to come here to the top left corner and type it in. Let's suppose that we want to load up Twitter, TWTR. Notice how the search gives you different options. I'm just going to click on Twitter from the description, and it'll load the options for Twitter. The option window is right here below. It gives you the options that are available for Twitter based on the filters that you have up here. All these drop downs that you have at the top of the option chain are going to allow you to filter and only concentrate on the options that you want to see. For example, if I click on filter, you can tell OptionStation Pro to load a certain number of strikes below or a certain number of strikes above. You can tell OptionStation Pro to show all terms. Here is showing monthlies, weeklies, and quarterlies, but you can choose to hide any of these types of options. So anything you do here in this filter, of course, is going to limit the number or expand the number of options that you see in the chain. As a default, I think all expirations are shown, but we do give you a limited number of strike prices and are going to be strikes that are somewhat close to what the underlying asset is. Once you make the changes here, you just apply them, and OptionStation Pro will remember those settings for you. In this particular example, I have about 10 strikes. Here you have a dedicated drop-down gives you quick access to increase or decrease the number of strikes that you look for any underlying asset. Now let's talk about the options chain, because we do see a lot of information here. You see all the expirations over here on the left-hand side, and you see how they're organized by the day, the month, and the year. It also tells you in parentheses how many days are remaining until the expiration of that option. You see a difference in color between the weeklies and the quarterlies, and the ones that don't have a label are the ones that are monthlies. So if you're looking for monthlies, we make it very simple because those are in a lighter shade of gray and they stand out. So let's say, for example, that I want to collapse the February monthlies. I click on the little button here on the left, and I want to expand the lighter gray for March. These are the monthlies for March. And you see the strikes right here in the middle for those options. The bid and ask columns are clickable prices, so whenever you click on any of them, it'll pull up the trade bar or it'll analyze the trade for you. The clicking on any of these prices is controlled by this little drop down on the top right of OptionStation Pro. Does everyone see here where it says click to trade? When you click on the drop down, there's two options. You can analyze the trade or trade directly. This controls what happens when you click on a specific price. So if I leave it on trade, notice what happens when I click on, let's say, the asking price of this 30 strike on the call side. As soon as I click on this asking price, it's going to populate the trade bar from the bottom of OptionStation Pro, allowing me to put it in order. Now, let me go ahead and hide this. I have a little arrow here to hide it. If I change the behavior to analyze trade, what happens is that if I click on the asking price of that same call, it's going to take me to the analysis tab. If you look over here at the bottom left side of OptionStation Pro, we have multiple tabs: options, analysis, manage, and search. And as a Tradestation user, you can control which tab you're on. But you notice that as soon as I clicked on one of those prices for that particular call, it brought me over here to the analysis because it thinks that I'm going to analyze a trade before placing it. So those are the two behaviors. Let me click back on the options pane or the options tab where we have all the options. We've added some great useful information for all options traders. For example, right here on the right-hand side, as part of the same label row, we see a percentage. That percentage is the average implied volatility for the options for that expiration. And in parentheses, we see the expected move of the underlying. As an enhancement to the visual of expected move, we've added this lighter gray shade that is behind the strike prices. That shade that you see behind the prices tells you what are the probabilities of Twitter moving up or down, and it tells you what the expected move is based on one standard deviation. So we can see that in the monthly options for March, this is the March options, we can see that Twitter is expected to move about 3.70 or $3.70 down, or $3.70 up, and you can see that in that shade behind the strike prices. That is, or that value that you see there corresponds to the value that you find here in parentheses, which is, as I said before, is the expected move for Twitter going on either side. By the way, as I explain this functionality, if you have any questions, feel free to send the questions over in the chat, and I'll make sure to answer those as I go along. Okay? And the value, yes, Ed, the value that you see here is until the expiration of this option. It is expected move until the expiration, based on implied volatility and historical volatility, which we're going to take a look at a little moment. All right? So let's go ahead and take a look at one particular call. Let's do the same one we did earlier. So I'm looking at the strike of 30 here. Let's say that I'm interested in buying a call with a strike price of 30. What I know by looking at the price here, it's being sold at $2.28. That's the price that I'm hovering over. And if I click here, it's going to send me to the analysis tab because that's the way that I had it set. So let me go ahead and clean up my theoretical positions here at the bottom for a moment, because that's not exactly where I wanted to send you. We're going to do this multiple times so that you can get used to the behavior. So I'm going to clear it out. I'm going to come back here to the options panel, and I'm going to change the behavior of the click. Instead of analyzing the trade, I'm just going to click on trade so you can see what happens. I'm going to come back here to the strike price 30, being sold at $2.25, and I'm going to click it. Now there's a couple things that happen, and I want you to see that it helps you create a visual and do some analysis on this particular call before you even go to the analysis tab. The first thing that happens is that there's a highlight on the row that tells you exactly what you clicked on. So we're on the call side. It's highlighting the strike price of 30, and you see that blue highlight going across the whole row. But it also displays a red and green line on the left side of the strike column. That red and green line tells you exactly when you start making money or losing money. So you can see that at the moment is on the red side or at a loss, and it tells you what the break-even point is. Twitter is trading at $30.71. We see it up here. But this option is going to cost us $2.25. So you really have to add what that option is costing you to the underlying price, and of course the break-even is going to be somewhere around 32 and some change. So this actual line that you see on the left side of the strike bar is going to tell you where your break-even point and where the price of Twitter needs to go in order for you to start making money. Now that's a great visual, and I haven't even gone to the analysis tab, and I think it's something that's going to benefit every options trader out there when you put in your trades. As I continue to add legs to this option, you're going to see the different highlights, but for now let's just keep it simple. Let's suppose that we just want to call, or we just want to trade that call. I want to take you to some other information here so that you can see how great this is. Right here in the trade bar, you see that whatever we clicked on gets populated into the trade bar as if you were going to place this trade. But you have full control over what you want to do here. Let's say that instead of trading the 30 strike price, you change your mind and you say, well, I really wanted to trade the 29. You don't have to click up here. You can come here to the trade bar and do it on these drop downs. You can go to the strike and say, well, what if I want to trade the 29 instead? And when you change it here in the trade bar, notice what happens here in the option chain. It actually switches the highlight from the 30 over to the 29. So these are two panels that are connected. So if you change it at the bottom, it's going to change it at the top. And if you change anything on the top, you see it reflected on the trade bar at the bottom. A couple of things that I like here on the trade bar that I know it's going to be convenient for everyone here. Maximum profit and maximum loss. So from the get-go, even before you put in the trade, you know how much you're risking and what is the potential profit for this particular position. I know that if I enter this position, the maximum I'm going to lose is $286. It's clearly displayed right there on the trade bar. And of course, since we're buying a call, the potential to the upside is unlimited, and that's what is reflected here in the maximum profit. Now, let's go ahead and analyze the trade before we can even place it. I know that right here you have like your the type of order, you have what price you're going to go, but I don't want to place the order yet. I want to do some additional analysis. I'm going to click on the Analyze little button here at the bottom, and it's going to send me over to the Analysis tab. So this is the same tab that we were taken to when we had the behavior of the click switched from Trade to Analyze Trade. Same tab. It just allows you to do some additional analysis of what's happening to this particular position that we want to put in. Let me clean this out a little bit and show you what's going on so that we can do it from the very beginning. So I'm going to clean out some of these lines so that they don't get confusing, and I'm going to explain what's happening here. The position, this is a simulated position. You can see it right here at the bottom. This is the single call that we clicked on from the options panel. You can see that it's the same expiration. You can see that it has the same maximum loss and maximum profit. We're taken here to the Analysis tab to be able to analyze this further. When we put in a position here in the Analysis tab, the value is going to be graphed right here. This is an actual profit and loss graph on this call. Let's try to understand some of the lines here. You can see that the lines, there's a legend here on the far right that tells you that the white line is what the value of the option is now. You can see that in brackets, it tells you how many days to expiration there are. There's 36. And the blue line tells you that this is at expiration. So days to expiration, it's 0. So you in the graph, you're pretty much seeing what the value of the option is, not only today, which is the white line, but also what the value is at expiration. This is very valuable because you can see that at the bottom of the graph, you have prices for Twitter. And you can see where the profit is at any point in the life of Twitter, depending on which price it hits. And let me show you what you can do as well here at the bottom. I'm going to click on the Add button here on the very far left, which is going to add what we call a price slice. The price slice is a vertical line that you can see right here in the graph. And when you add it, the default is that it's going to be pinned to the last. So here I just added a line that tells me what the last price of Twitter is, $30.83. And you can see that the line moves up and down depending on the price of Twitter. But what that line allows me to do is calculate the P&L right here on this slice. Notice right here where my cursor is, we have a theoretical P&L of $5.50, which means that that is the P&L right now if we had a position open for that particular call. This is very interesting because now you have the ability to use this as a sandbox and say, okay, what would happen to my P&L if Twitter were to go up or down in price? Now you can enter the price here on the left-hand side and say, well, if the price drops to 28, and I'm just typing in 28 over here, you can see that as soon as I type 28, the line gets shifted over to 28, and then you have a different calculation of your P&L. If Twitter drops to $28, your position would lose $155. Now you can do the same thing on the upside. Let's say that if Twitter goes up to 35, then your P&L would be $345. And this is right now. You can see that the calculation is based on that line, which is now. You can click on the drop down of this and say set to plot 2, which is, the blue line. If I set it to plot 2, then this is doing me, or is performing the calculations of my profit and loss at expiration. You can see that it says days to expirations 0. And notice something else. I can grab, not only I can type the price right here, as I just showed you. I typed in 28 first, then I typed in 35, but I can also click the line and drag it to any different location. So I can drag it here to 33, okay, and I can see what the P&L is at expiration. So everybody knows here that there's a valuation on the option today, and there's a different valuation at expiration because you are changing the time component. So graphs like this allow you to do the simulation of what would happen to your P&L if the price would go up or down. One thing that I do, and this is something you can do on your OptionStation Pro, is add multiple lines. So I can click on add again, and I can say I want to pin those lines to a -5%, the last traded price, and a +5%. So you can see all the calculations at once. So I can say that, or I can see that if Twitter goes down 5%, I lose money. If it remains at the same value, it's $10.50. But if it goes up 5%, I make $126. So this is a great visual of what would happen to your P&L if Twitter would go up or down in price. Everybody sees the gray box right behind this graph. The gray box is the probabilities that Twitter will go on either direction based on historical volatility, how volatile the underlying is, and the time value, the expiration. So based on one standard deviation, and if you've used standard deviations in your options analysis, you know that one standard deviation is 68%. So there's a 68% probability that Twitter will be between this side of the box and this side of the box. So that gives you an additional advantage because you can see if there's any chances for you making any money. Because if you come here to the graph and the P&L line is outside of this 68% probability, your chances of making profits are slimmer. So it's always good, to check what are the probabilities of the underlying going up or down, and this graph will tell you precisely where it is. One thing you can do, which I showed you earlier, I can click on the pinned and say, well, I want to pin it to, instead of percentages, I want to pin it to the standard deviations themselves. So if I pin it to one standard deviation, the last, and plus one standard deviation, notice that it will be exactly at the different lines. Okay, so the chances are for Twitter to go from 2747 all the way up to 3483 based on one standard deviation. As a TradeStation user, you have the ability to adjust the standard deviations. So if you wanted to base the calculations on two standard deviations, which is the probabilities are higher, it's a 95% probability if you change it to two standard deviations, but the standard is 2. I mean, the standard is 1, or the default, but you can come over here and change it if you do want to do it, And you can also change the time period. Notice how this is till expiration. We do know that the price movement is based on expiration, but you can do it at a different date. Okay, so I did want to show you this analysis tab because there's a lot of things going on here, and you can tell what the sensitivity of your option is if the price goes up or down. If we want to trade this, very simple. I just have to come down here. I right-click on the actual position row, and I click on trade. And the trade bar pops up from the bottom, allowing me to trade this. At the bottom left, there's two little boxes that say natural and mid. Mid, of course, is a price between the bid and the ask. Natural is whatever the natural pricing is. Let me choose the natural pricing for this option. And I'm going to click on place order right here on the right. This is my confirmation window. It tells me what the price is that I want, and I say yes. And then the order is sent. I'm not sure if you're able to see the bottom of my OptionStation Pro, but it says that the order was received. If I want to take a look at that order and see if it was filled or not, I have to go to this tab that's called Manage. When I go to Manage, you have two panels, and you can see that there's a divider right here in the middle that allows you to move, the size and resize these panels according to the amount of information that you want to look at. But on the top panel, let's focus here on the top, you see that orders are grouped by the status of the order. You have orders that are received, you have orders that are filled, and then you have orders that are canceled. For the most part, I'm interested in the ones that are working for me at the moment. So if you feel like your orders panel is getting a little bit cluttered, and sometimes what I do is I click on the filled and collapse it, and I filled in the U are out because I only want to see the ones that are working right now. And you can see that this is an order that has been received. It's still working for us. Our limit price is $2.96, and the natural price you can see here is this $2.99. So it moved a little bit away from the price we wanted, but that's fine. We can always adjust it. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to right-click here and say Cancel Replace. And this is something very easy. Looking at an order row, you should just right-click on the row, click on Cancel Replace, and take a look. The trade bar pops up from the bottom of the screen, and I can say, well, instead of wanting $2.96, let me go ahead and raise it a little bit. I'll raise it to $3, and then I'm just going to click on Place Order right here. As soon as I do that, you can see that my received orders row is gone, so I don't have any working orders, but I can go to the filled, and I can see that my buy to open for that March call is filled. If I want to take a look at my fill prices over here to the right-hand side, I got filled at $2.98, which is a better price than the price that I put in. I put in a limit price of $3, but it filled me at $2.98. So where do I see that position? Where do I go to actually manage my position? Well, you have the orders at the top, and now we have to look at the bottom where the positions are. One nice thing about OptionStation Pro is that it not only shows you the positions of the underlying that's loaded here in OptionStation, we've loaded Twitter, but it also shows you positions for other symbols or other equities that you have in your account. For example, if I open up my Bank of America, I can see that I have 1,000 shares of Bank of America equity. And if I open up Microsoft, I can see that I have 500 shares. I can open up Twitter, and I can see my single call right there. From the positions panel, right here, it tells you your P&L. Right here on the right-hand side, you see your P&L, and you see your trade cost as well. Very quickly, if I wanted to close this position, I can right-click and say Close this position. That'll allow you to put in, activation rules and any type of exits that you think are appropriate for this call. Let's go ahead and click on close this position, because when I do that, the trade bar pops up from the bottom, and you can see that this is a selling transaction to close. You have your pricing boxes, you have the strike price of 29, but let's suppose that we want to set a selling transaction for this particular call if the price of the underlying is moving to a certain amount. Let's suppose that Twitter, instead of going up, it starts going down. And we know that when we looked at the graph, we understood that if Twitter went down, that means that that's a loss in our account. A loss in the sense that this particular call would remain worthless because Twitter is going down. So let's say, for example, that if Twitter were to go down to, let's say, $28, drop 1 whole point, or actually 2 points because the current trading price is 30. But if Twitter were to drop to 28, we want to close our call. This is the way you do that. I'm gonna work with a market order. So let's do a market order over here. It's a quick like stop on that order. And when we set up the market order type, I'm going to set the checkbox here for activation rule. It allows me to do different conditions. And if I click on the ellipsis here on the right-hand side, you're going to see that there's 2 types of activations that you can put into an order. You can do a time activation, which is interesting because if you want to delay the activation of the order until later in the day, that's possible. Let's say you don't want to submit this order until after 3 p.m. in the afternoon. That you can do. And the one that I was going to show you is price. And I'm going to put in the price here of Twitter. So I'm going to type in Twitter, TWTR. I'm going to click on add. And I'm going to say if Twitter trades at less than or equal to 28, I'm just going to type in the price. Then I want you to stop and send a market order to sell my call. I'm going to click OK to this. I put in my conditions already, so I'm just going to click on place order. All right, you can see the confirmation here. This is a market order, but it has a condition. You can see the condition right here, activation Twitter, less than or equal to 28. I click on yes, and the order is received right there. Now, one thing that we didn't do, and before we do it, I want you to take a look over here on the right-hand side. If you have a bigger monitor, you're probably able to see all the information here, but let me make the column here wider. You can see that the activation rule is looking at Twitter, and it's looking for Twitter to be less than or equal to 28. So it's not until that happens that my order will be activated and the market order will be sent to close my position on this call. Now, one thing that I did not do is change the duration. And this is something that as a trader, you're going to have to pay attention to, because if you send the order without changing the duration, your order could be canceled at the end of the day. This order that I just submitted with a day duration is deemed to be canceled at 4 p.m. So at 4, I won't have this order anymore. So if you want this order to remain active for today and tomorrow and the next trading day, you have to use a different duration. I'm going to right-click and cancel replace. And notice some items or some things on the order cannot be changed. For example, I cannot change the duration here and cancel it. Do a cancel replace. I'm going to have to cancel the order completely before I even place a new one. So let me go ahead and do that. To cancel an order is very simple. I just right-click on the row and just click on cancel order from the menu. Notice that it moves that row over to the you are out section. This is the you are out. So if I wanted to put in that order again, right here from my positions, I right-click, close this position. I'm going to do a market order one more time. My activation rule is based on Twitter. It's a price activation, TWTR. I'm going to add it. And then I'm going to do less than or equal to 28. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to change the duration right here to a GTC, which is good till cancel, and then place the order. That way, that order remains in the market until I actually cancel it, or I want to close my position because instead of going down, it's actually going up in my favor. I see a question in the chat. Can you bracket? Yes, technically you can, but not from OptionStation Pro. But it's very simple to do. And let me show you a few things you can do here in OptionStation that'll make it simple for you to work and analyze your options. Right here in the top right corner, if you look at where my cursor is, there's a linking button. I'm not sure how many TradeStation users we have here, but this button that you see at the top allows you to link your OptionStation Pro to other windows in TradeStation. And what I like to do, if you're interested in trading brackets and sending brackets for a particular call or put, is to do it on the matrix. So I can link my OptionStation Pro to a matrix window and have the symbol load up automatically on that screen. So I'm going to come over here to my TradeStation for a moment. Okay, and I'm going to open up a new workspace. So let me open up a new workspace down here. I'll click on Apps, and let me bring up a matrix. All right, that's my matrix window. Okay, this is a great window for you to put in, brackets and OCOs and OSOs. But now I need to pull up my symbol for the call here. This is Twitter. This is like trading the underline. That's not exactly what we want. So I'm going to come over here and click the same linking button, and I'm going to select the same color and make sure that it's a global symbol link. I'm going to click it and then come back here to OptionStation Pro. Let me pull it up. My position is on the 29 call. We can see it right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the options, or better yet, I can right click and copy the symbol. You probably don't see it in the menu. Can you see copy symbol right there at the bottom of the menu? So when you right click on any of your positions, and this is, by the way, this is only exclusive to single leg options. So you can copy the symbol from the right click. I can come back here to TradeStation, pull up my command so that I can type or paste a symbol. That's my symbol right there. I hit enter, and this is showing my actual call position. You can see that it's showing me the horizontal bar where my position is. I got filled at $2.98. It's showing me the order that is active, so I can cancel it and manage the order from here. So if I really wanted to cancel that order and put in a bracket, I can do so. Let me cancel this order for a moment. And I can use the OCO button here at the bottom to place that order. Let's see, this is doing the bracket. It's a little high. Let's see. Let me see if I find that bracket. It's right here. So that's my stop right there. I can bring it in if I want to by clicking and dragging. So the functionality that you have in the matrix where you can click and drag, it's very possible. And once you put in your bracket, you can see the relationship between your exits and your entries. I'm just dragging my position closer to where the market is. And you can do that very, very quickly. All right, so if you want to trade brackets, you can do it like that by copying the symbol. If you have the Windows symbol linked, let me show you another way. I can pull up my OptionStation Pro, and from the options panel, I can load any call or any put by clicking on the side that corresponds to that call. So let's say that we want to do the 32 on the put side. I don't click the bid or the ask because you know that those are clickable, tradable buttons, but I click over here on the right-hand side, and as soon as I click, it's going to load up this strike of 32 into my matrix. Let me go ahead and confirm. Let me pull up my matrix, and you can see that on the top left corner, we can see the put and the strike of 32. So when the two windows are linked in a global link, you can just click on the row and it'll send that symbol over to the window, which I find it very convenient, especially if you have a chart open. You know, a lot of traders want to see how the option has performed historically. So if I have a chart open, let me just open up a chart. And I'm going to put that chart right here next to my matrix. I put the chart here, and I also link the chart to the yellow global, yen, The chart that you see here is the price activity of that 32 put. And of course, you can change the time frame and say, I really want to do a 60-minute chart, and you can see the price fluctuations of this particular put going back in history. Let me see if I see a couple questions here. Is this available for Tradestation 9.5? Yes. All the features that I showed you are available in 9.5, so if you're using an older version of Tradestation, everything should be there. Right now I'm using Tradestation 10, which is the newer version, but the functionality should be there as well. How did you get the command? I mean, I bracket a stop based on the underline and a target based on underline. Okay, so if you want to do a bracket based on the underline, let's see if we can do that. I'm gonna see if I can make up some room here. Let's go ahead and go here and select an exit bracket with one limit and one stop. I'm going to go to the settings. So this is what controls the bracket. The order type cannot be adjusted. So if you want to do an order that is based on the underline, you can, but you can only use limit and stop orders, which is fine. Let's go ahead and put in a position for this put and take it from there. I'm gonna buy it at market. I'm gonna buy a put. Okay, let's see if it goes in. Okay, this is my put right there. I'm going to go over here to the settings of my bracket. And notice the price offset is set to 50 cents. I'm going to put it a little bit tighter so that we can see it on the screen. I'm going to put it at 10 cents. So 10 cents on the target and 10 cents on the stop. But these targets are going to be activated only if the underline is moving at a certain price. You can click on the little button here on the far right under the advanced column that allows you to set an activation the same way we did in OptionStation Pro. So I can click on activation rule, click on the ellipsis, and then base the activation on Twitter just as I did my call, which I traded on the actual OptionStation Pro application. So you can do all sorts of combinations from the matrix as well. Okay, just remember that the ellipsis or the formatting button is right there in the advanced column. Let's go back here to OptionStation Pro. There's a couple more things that I wanted to show you. For example, the ability for you to create spreads on the fly. If you're interested in trading spreads, Tradestation's OptionStation Pro makes it very easy. Let me change the symbol here. I'm going to change the symbol to, let's do Microsoft. So MSFT, I hit enter. It loads Microsoft. Okay, this is the March monthly options from Microsoft. Let's suppose that we want to trade a vertical. I can click on the asking price of one call. I can hold down the control key and I can click on the bid price of another call. Notice how if you click on the ask, it'll be a blue row, which is a buy, and if you click on the bid, it's going to be a red row, which is a sell. So you're buying a call and selling a put. I'm buying a call and selling a call, and that creates a vertical. You can see that at the bottom, it recognizes as a vertical. So from the list of options, if you hold down the control key and you click on different legs, it's going to create a spread for you. Not only that, but you can adjust the width of the spread. Right here, this vertical is made up of the 100 and the 105. But if I want to create this spread from the 100 and use the 100 and the 110, I can click on the red row and I can drag it down one row. And notice that I've just widened the spread by just clicking and dragging that highlight, which makes it very convenient. So again, click and drag. I'm just going to leave it the way it was originally. From here, I can trade it. Let me go ahead and put in a market order so that I can trade it. If I were trading options, I would be looking at the prices and maybe control the price a little bit. I'm just using market orders for demonstration so you can see the fill. I'm just going to click on yes, and the order gets filled. How do I know it gets filled? There's a couple ways that I can tell. At the bottom, you can see that you get the order confirmation, it says filled. And also because you see the +1 and a -1 under the position column. So this +1 means that I'm long one contract of the 100 strike, and I'm short one contract of the 105 strike. So it's a very clear way of you looking at the position itself. Let me come back here. I know that's 100 and 105. Let me come here to the Manage tab because I want to show you something really cool. When you go to Manage and you look at your positions, you're going to see that OptionStation Pro displays them as individual legs. And that's okay because we give you full control as to what you can do with those legs. One thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to combine them together because I want to see the P&L as a spread, not on individual legs. If you look over here, the P&L, I'm losing $1.50 on the call, and I'm losing. Actually, these are the Twitter ones. Those are not the ones that I traded just now. So I'm just going to open up Microsoft, and here they are. Okay. On the 100 call, I'm flat, but on the 105 call, I'm losing $4.50. I don't see them combined. So I'm going to click on one of these rows, and the same way we did it in the options panel, where you click and drag, you can do the same thing here to drop one of those legs on top of the other and create the spread. I'm going to click on the call here, the 105, and drop it on top of the 100, and take a look. It combines them into a vertical. So now I can see the combined P&L for the vertical. Now it's losing $4 on the overall spread. If I click on the plus here on the left-hand side, it gives me the details. I can still see, information about those individual legs, but it's interesting that I can, make it a vertical right here on the positions panel. Let me show you one more thing because this is a great feature of OptionStation Pro. I'm going to go here to Options, and I'm going to create a spread over here on the put side. So I'm going to click on the bid price of this 115, and I'm going to hold down the Control key the same way that I showed you earlier, and I'm going to click on the ask price so I can select those two legs, the 115 and the 120. Again, take a look. I have a vertical here. I'm going to trade it as a vertical. This is the market order. I'm going to place the order. I get filled. How do I know? Well, first of all, at the bottom. And then you can see the +1 and the -1 on the call, and the -1 and the +1 right here on the put side. You have those positions open. Now I can come here to the Manage tab and see the two legs that I just traded, the puts. And the same way that I did it with the calls, I can click on one of these puts and drop it on top of the other. So now I have a vertical made up of calls, and I have a vertical made up of puts. Not only that, but this is where the power comes in. Because the fact that I traded two separate verticals doesn't mean that you have to manage them and trade them as verticals. If I change my mind later on, I say, well, I really wanted to trade this as an iron condor. I can take one of these verticals and I can drop it on top of the other vertical. So the possibilities here are endless. I'm going to click on this vertical put. I'm going to drop it on the vertical call and take a look. Now I have an iron condor. So even though I traded them as separate verticals, I can come here, right-click on this iron condor, and close this position. Allow me to trade this as two verticals combined into an iron condor. Once you're here in the trade, you can analyze it. So I can click on Analyze, and it'll send me right here into the position. Notice the difference in the P&L graph. Last time we looked at this, we were looking at a call, and we knew that our profits were unlimited. Now in this graph, we have limits because we're trading a spread. So what we're looking for is for the price of Microsoft to be at this level, right here. Not here, I'm sorry, outside. Let me take that back. Right here in this area, that's where the negative is. You can see the break-even line right there in the middle. So you want the price to be outside. So in order for you to make money, you have to either be anywhere below this price or anywhere above this price. And you can see the prices over here at the bottom. By the way, you can click and drag the prices here if you want to see more detail. You can click and drag the graph also, so that's also an added functionality that you can do on the graph to give you a little bit more detail. Sometimes if the probability in the background is really narrow, you can click on the prices and expand so you can see a little bit more detail. All right? So those are the features that I wanted to show you. I know that the class was going to be for about 60 minutes. I wanted to show you from a very high level some of the features that are built into Tradestation. So if you trade with Tradestation, I hope that OptionStation Pro features, you were able to capture some of the some tricks here and there. If you don't trade with Tradestation, we want you to take Tradestation for a test drive and see if it works for you. I'm going to pass the microphone over to Mitch, so you can talk a little bit about our promotion and what we're going to be doing for the group of Netpicks. So Mitch, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Jesus. Guys, I can't tell you, I've seen a couple of presentations by Jesus. In fact, I've seen many, and every single time I see a presentation, I walk away understanding the product a lot better. And believe me, guys, I've been with Tradestation for 15 years, so it's not so easy to kind of teach this old dog a new trick. That said, hi, my name is Mitchell Field, and again, I've been with Tradestation for 15 years. I am not unique. Many of our employees, like Jesus, are here for that long. In fact, I think Jesus has been here for actually over 20 years, and it really shows in his product knowledge. A little bit about Netpicks. They have been a partner program participant of ours for over 10 years. I've been very fortunate to have worked with them for most of that time, and they have consistently produced year over year for the last 10 years. So for all of the 10 years, they have been a very consistent producer. And believe me, guys, we take our partner program very, very seriously. In fact, we turn down dozens and dozens and dozens of applicants every single year. We have a special team that will vet them, and our process is so strict that, believe me, getting through the door is special. And Netpicks is that special group because, again, they have been producing in large part, if not in all, because of Troy Noonan. And I've been working with Troy for many years as well. So congratulations, Troy. Let's talk a little bit about what we can do in terms of the partner. And I'm going to take some questions after. I'll be open and be happy to field any questions that you have. I think Chris is going to put my contact information. Chris Walker is in charge of the partner. He's in the room with us. He's going to put a hyperlink out there for everybody, and he's going to put my contact. But basically, if anybody comes to Tradestation and opens a new account with us, we are going to give them a 100% commission rebate. I know that sounds like a pretty big deal, and it is. It's done via a 20% commission rebate. So every single time you place a trade with Tradestation, we're going to aggregate those trades. And each month, we're going to then give you a final number. Usually, the first week after the month is over, you're going to see a cash credit. This is intended to be a 100% rebate, guys. So depending upon how you trade, it's not really going to hurt you if you're going to take a long time and you trade infrequently, or if you're a very active trader, you can use it up pretty quickly. But nobody is going to have this offer expire. You have as much time as you need to capture 100%. So Netpicks is definitely at the head of our partner program. We're very proud to be working with them. One of the components that you also get, guys, we only require you to fund your account with $500. It's a very low number. We don't really expect you to trade. What happens is it turns on the promo, it turns on the free software, the free live data, and your ability to test Troy's programs. So you can actually automate everything with just a little bit of money in the account. If you want to keep your other account open at another firm while you test us, or if you want to compare us to another firm side by side, we certainly welcome that competition. I do see a couple of questions popping up on the screen here. How many trades to waive the platform fee? That's a great question. Guys, we used to have a program where it was a requirement to place a certain amount of trades each and every month to waive our $99 platform fee. There were some other fees that were sprinkled in there too, Radar Screen, Portfolio Maestro, but we kind of got it. We turned away from that program, and now we offer a comprehensive program. It's basically called the per trade program, so there are no minimums for you to waive our software. If you fund your account with $500, your software, your Radar Screen, your Portfolio Maestro, and whatever live data for the account that you're opening, you're going to get it. So if you're an equities guy, you're getting equities and options data. If you also open a futures account and fund that separately, we're going to also give you the Globex Value Bundle. So whatever account you open, you get the corresponding free data, and you get the unlimited ability to demo as long and as much as you like. There is not going to be a time limit on the timeline in terms of demo trading. Some of you will require extended periods of time to develop your skills and to learn the software. Some of you will get it very quickly. Every single student will be accommodated, And we also offer 24-hour technical support, which is unheard of in the business. 24 hours. It starts on Sunday at 8 p.m. and it ends on Friday at 3:30. Excuse me. It starts on Sunday at 3:30 Eastern and it ends on Friday 8 p.m. Eastern. So guys, I don't want to take up too much of your time. This was really about learning OptionStation Pro. I'd be happy to take some questions if there are any from the group, and I know that Jesus also has something that he'd like to share with you.
And John, I see your question about deleting a symbol in mobile. Because of time, we're not able to show that feature, but if you send Mitch an email about the question, and I'll be glad to answer or give you information on via email. He'll forward the email to me. So we'll get your answer, your question answered without any problem.
Guys, there's only one Jesus, and there's a lot of customers out there, so let's filter the questions for Jesus through me. I'd be happy if anybody wants to email me at mfield@tradestation.com to be the intermediary. I promise to get your questions over to Jesus in a very quick fashion.
And for any questions that we didn't get to, because I know that we are limited by time, email Mitch and he'll provide you information regarding that. Okay, so thank you everyone for your time. I hope that everyone has a great afternoon. Thank you for spending the time here with us, and I hope to see you in a future event. Goodbye everyone.